Funny how? Like I amuse you? I'm a clown. Funny how? Come on, that's a dead giveaway. Food is such a time machine, am I right? Like honestly, you walk into somebody's house, you smell like hot baked apple pie, you immediately think of your grandma's house. Strawberry shortcake, as soon as I smell that, I think about the summertime and not having to go back to school. But food is such a time machine, and I get a lot of inspiration for food through movies. So I'm gonna make a go-to pasta and give you a ton of hints, and I wanna see if you can guess the movie. So here's a great tip. When I'm making a quick pasta, I like to get everything ready and then walk over to the stovetop and start cooking. So some nice white diced onions and garlic starts this pasta story. So here's your first hint. The garlic, I like to slice with a razor blade. And if you can get it really nice and thin, it almost liquefies in the pan. So that's hint number one. And actually, if you cut it really thin like that, it's super cool and it just dissolves in a little bit of olive oil and gives you great garlic flavor. Awesome. So this one's really simple. So a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic, really nice and thinly sliced, and then some sausage meat out of the casing. That's kind of my twist. This is like my version of a quick spaghetti. A little bit of marinara sauce, some pappardelle pasta. You can use whatever noodle that you like, but I really like this thin noodle. It clings onto the sauce and it's really nice for slurping. A bottle of red wine and off to the stove. Let's do it. All right, so this pasta is super quick, but it's all about the technique. So I like to start with the sausage. Wait a second, a little bit of olive oil first, and then put the sausage in first. There's a lot of fat in the sausage meat, and if you put it in, it starts to brown, then the fat comes out, you start building flavor instantly. So in with the sausage, nice little sizzle, and here's another great tip. I like to use a whisk. And if you use a whisk and you push it down, you get a really nice texture in the sausage. And this is just regular Italian sausage, mild, right out of the casing. There's some good seasonings, some fennel seed, a little bit of chili, but I like to get it in there, get it cooking, and beat it up with the whisk. And I like when that sausage meat is really nice and fine. All right, so when the sausage meat is kind of cooking and you can see it's releasing a lot of fat into the pan, which is gonna be a ton of flavor, this is what I like to do for the next step. So push the meat into one side of the pan and you can see there's a lot of pork fat and some flavor in there. Hit that again with a little bit of olive oil. And this is where you wanna put the really thin sliced garlic and just let it melt a little bit. And it really seasons the olive oil, it really seasons the pork fat. You know, my dad will make a pasta, but it'll take him like 6 hours. He'll be like, it's been on the stove all day. And you can get that kind of TLC, that big flavor that you would at your grandma's house in like 45 minutes. Don't tell anybody I told you, but Dad, you're taking way too long, I'm hungry. Just kidding, buddy, I love you. So yeah, this is great. You can see that the garlic is not burning, but it's just picking up like a ton of ridiculous flavor, and then right in with the onions. You can smell it already. That's how you build flavor real quick, baby. Woohoo! Just move the onions around again. Now the onions are in like seasoned pork fat and garlic, delicious, and then bring it all together. All right, anytime I cook, I always have wine. And sometimes I even put it in the food. So this is a good time. You get the sausage in there, really nice and cooked, get the onions, the garlic, you start building flavor, and then hit it with some red wine. And then this is another really important part. Put the red wine in till it almost cooks really dry, in with the tomatoes, and you're almost finished. It smells so good. So this pasta is all about timing. The red wine goes in, it reduces, the water's on for the pasta. As soon as I put the marinara sauce in, pasta goes in. But this is a little trick I like to do and put on my pastas, and it adds like a kick of salt and something really cool and crunchy. So put a pan on, and I fry some capers. So they're really easy. You don't need to deep fry, you don't need to go to all that trouble. I just get a nice pan on, and then I shallow fry it. So a little bit of canola oil, and then you put the capers in there, and they kind of burst and explode, and they get really nice and crispy, and it's such a beautiful, delicate, crispy crunch on the top of the pasta. So So the fried capers are pretty simple. Nice hot oil, but here's a little tip. These pack a lot of punch and flavor and a lot of liquid. So I like to drain out the capers and then fry them. If there's a lot of liquid in it, they like to explode. They're gonna explode anyway, but if you dry them off, it makes the process that much more pleasurable. You wanna hear that sound? Let them pop away, let them sizzle like that. That's really great, and it's awesome. Just a shallow fry, a couple bubbles at a time, and you'll see them transform. They'll open up and they'll get really super crispy. Okay, this is great. So the red wine is basically gone. So this is your second tip. Not too much tomato sauce, all right? Just enough to coat the noodle. Tip number 2. So, and you can use anything, crushed tomatoes. This is just a store-bought marinara, but I'm telling you, with the sausage meat, the onions, and the garlic, and the red wines, this, killer. So just not too much, just enough. And then as soon as I put in the tomatoes, then the noodles go in. This is great, it's so fast. Sauce is cooking down, capers are frying, noodles in, life is good, happy days. And that's awesome, not too much tomato sauce because it's almost like a ragu. And it cooks down and it gets really nice and thick. And that's the thing about a pasta. Usually you get a pasta and it's a bowl full of sauce. Shouldn't be a bowl full of sauce. You should finish it, the bowl should be dry. So just enough sauce to coat the noodle. Yeah, it looks so good already. Capers are frying. You can see they start to change. They really start to open up and get super nice and crispy, and it's a good salty kick. Okay, here's movie hint number 2. Not too much tomato sauce, just enough sauce to coat the noodle. Thinly sliced garlic, not too much tomato. Are you figuring it out? Hopefully. Funny how? I can amuse you? I'm a clown. Funny how? Come on, that's a dead giveaway. All right, the capers are really cool because they open up like a little flower, and you can see that they're really nice and crispy. So what I like to do, just get them in the bottom of the pan and strain off the oil, and then you're left, listen. It's so really nice and crispy, and you can see that the caper opens up like a little flower. And it's so delicious and crispy. All right, so you can see the pasta's really nice and thick. Like if you tilt up the pan, there's just enough sauce in there to coat the noodle. And I don't take the noodle out and cool them because there's so much starch in the noodle that if you just take it out of the pasta water and keep cooking a little bit, there's some natural starches in there, and if there's any leftover liquid in the pan, it just makes it really nice and sticky. My dad hates when I make this pasta because he's like, how long did that take you? I was like, 20 minutes.
Cheers!
It took all day. But that's the joy of cooking, you know? It's fun to watch my dad make a pasta and destroy the house, and you gotta wait 40 hours to eat. But it's all in the process, right? All right, get in the pan and then really bring it together. Oh, it looks so good. You can see how dry the pan is. You just want enough sauce to coat that noodle. Awesome. All right, check this out. The pasta is really nice and sticky. There's no sauce in the bottom of the pan, but the noodles just drink up a ton of flavor, especially if you cook it like that. That's a good technique. It's so good, a nice little tight ragu with onions and garlic, a little splash of wine, some tomatoes. Pretty delicious, pretty simple. Looks great, right? Okay, to finish, I'm a sucker for spice. So a few sliced chilies on there. You could use dried chilies, but I really like these hot peppers. Add a nice little kick. Obviously, you need some cheese, right? And this is funny, this is one of the only things I cook with no salt and pepper in it. Because of the flavor of the sausage and the richness of the sauce, you don't need salt or pepper. Just a little bit of salty cheese on the top. Some capers will add a nice little punch of salt, and then tear up a few basil leaves. They're really nice and fragrant. And then just to finish, a nice shot of olive oil. Now this is a bowl of pasta that you just want to tuck into. It's so great. And I love it because the sauce just clings to the noodle, and that's all you should have. It's so good, it's so quick, but there's so much flavor in the sausage, the crispy capers, and then that sauce just clings to the noodle. You know, I love going over to my parents' house on a Sunday and smelling my dad cook pasta for 4 hours, and honestly, The best part is that grin that comes across his face when he gives you the first bite and he goes, "Is it good, Spence?" "Yeah, Dad, it's great." But if you're in a pinch, this is a great way to get that same TLC.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Live for today. Keep chasing the sun.
Everybody has a go-to spaghetti or a go-to pasta. This is mine, quick, efficient, and tasty. But tell me what yours is, and hey, you never know, I might make it.
See you later, alligator.